Well, there's one thing that's for sure. I feel like fucking death. But, and I keep trying to sort of go to sleep, but I've also got all this energy. You know, when you've been ill and you're like really over it and you're like wanting to get going again and you're just not there. But you take some paracetamol and you get through it and you're like, oh, I'm all right actually. And then the drugs wear off and then you're like, bah, smacked by the cold sweats again. Well, I had an inspiration of surge of energy that came through me because I'm scrolling through the internet as I do. And, you know, the stuff people say. And look, everyone's free to say whatever they want. So this is not a thing about other people in so much as it is about me and what I'm doing and what I'm here for. And insofar as it serves to illustrate what I'm up to in contrast, then I'll take the opportunity. So the general sort of theme of these messages are sometimes like, you know, sort of new agey as well. So I'm going to, apologies to the new age folks, but you were on the menu tonight. You know, it's this kind of language around like the revolution, the evolution, and the sort of the new earth is coming. You know, this kind of idea that you know, some greater force, some greater cycles are playing themselves out in our humanity. And, you know, all we've got to do is sort of catch the wave in a way, right? Like catch the wave at the right time. Now, you know, you just won't hear me talking much about that sort of thing. And the reason you won't hear me talk about that kind of thing is because how the fuck do I know? You know, honestly, how do I know? How do they know is a question that crosses my mind as well. But that's none of my business. Maybe they do. But I definitely don't, you know. I'm just a whatever I am, right? And that's a pretty awesome creature and part of an awesome species that have, you know, by all accounts, some pretty magnificent creative abilities to do all sorts of stuff on this planet that not any other animals that we know of can do quite like us. You know, we really are creative beings. But a skill set that is not evidently obvious is that of prophecy, right? Like, and people can dispute this, but whatever. Enough of the second guessing. I'll just say my piece. Like, you know, it's not part of our natural makeup to know what the fuck is going on all around us and all the, you know, all the multiple levels of existence. You know, and so when people make those claims about, oh yeah, it's, you know, it's just sort of round the corner, it's like, what's round the corner? What's supposed to happen there? Something's supposed to get unlocked in you, you know? And the reason I talk about this, and there is a educational point to all this, is at the heart of it, what people are talking about is creating, right? What's on the other side of this special date, whatever the date is? You know, it's like, oh, the ability to create stuff, the ability to actually create the world that we imagine. Now, the thing that I dislike about it is that it gives the impression that creating is about alignment, that creating is about flow, that creating is about merely sort of being at the right place at the right time, getting out of the way, and as long as there's no fucking bullshit going on, then out the other end is going to pop out a new utopia. And it's fucking great fantasy, you know, but that's not how creating works. You know, it's like, if I want to make a roast, I don't have to wait until Sunday, you know? I can make a roast on any day if I want. Now, we can wait till Sunday. We can have a Sunday roast, and that's got a particular sort of charm to it. A Sunday roast is... you know, it's ceremonial. And it's familial, and it has all of these other aspects to it that are very true and valid parts of the human experience. Give you a bit of Humboldt too. So, you know, this isn't to deny the importance of ritual, the importance of ceremony, or like, no, not even necessarily the importance, but like, that's all welcome as well. From my perspective, as far as the work that I do, what isn't welcome is getting it mixed up with creating. Because, fucking mark my words, you can make a roast on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, any day of the week. You don't have to wait. The only thing, well, the thing that's important about making a roast is whether you know how, not anything else that's going on. You know, whether you know how, whether you've got the equipment, if you've got the food, you know, and then you create it. And that's how the creative process works. It's about, what have you got at your disposal? What do you want to create, firstly? And, you know, and the way that you invent to go about getting there. Now, the thing that bothers me about, you know, broadly speaking, and this goes beyond the New Age stuff as well. This goes to a lot of stuff that's sort of focused on the world level, the universal, you know, the sort of universe, at the universe level. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, it's one thing to create a roast dinner. We can talk about roast dinners and Sunday, Nick, and it's all, yeah, it's a nice analogy, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a revolution, a change on planet Earth. And it's like, okay, well, what is that? What are we even talking about then? You know, all right, so we're talking about a revolution and change on planet Earth. And, you know, even those things have been created, you know, and there's a lot of bloodshed and stuff in the past when it comes to revolutions and stuff. But really, the things that we're talking about in our little alternative communities and, you know, thought spaces out here, we're talking about living nice lives with decent people that we share values with, that we can eat good food with, feel healthy, have relationships, build families, have kids, educate those kids in interesting ways, you know, have autonomy and freedom over the way that we, you know, bring, the way that we sort of decide to culture ourselves as a community, right? Like, that's more or less, broadly speaking, I think at a kind of group level, what a bunch of us are seeking. Now, that's not easy, but neither is it galactically impossible or dependent on some galactic event. It's much more like fucking cooking roast dinner on a Monday. The fact is, you still have to know how to cook. And so this brings me to the second point: is people don't know how to cook for the most part. Now, another thing about a lot of the sort of healing, the spirituality, the just get unblocked and let the genius of life force flow through you and see this world manifest itself, is this like, it's so focused on the selves and how kind of aligned and pure and attuned they are to that vision. It's like, oh yeah, look, as long as we're all on the same frequency, again, these permaculture pods and earth ships and alternative education systems, they're just going to appear because we're vibing on the right frequency. And it's like, nah, it doesn't work like that. And I've spent enough time in different community projects, working ones and some failed ones, and and I'll tell you what they look like usually is you get people who do a lot of work and you have people that have a lot of ideas. I mean, I don't want to speak across the board, but one thing is for sure is like ideas are not the meat of the creative process, So all these fancy ideas about being in tune and releasing your emotions and, and this isn't to knock these practices as valid additional things to the creative process or centerpieces in their own domain, in their own right. Okay. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking all of these things. I'm just knocking the conflation of the two because it really is two different things. So you want to really get it, like, that the communities that we want to build require creative people, and not creative people, actual creators. They require people who are fluent in the creative process in a general way and in specific ways, right? And it's not like a knowledge set either, but like to know what it is to bring about things that don't exist yet into being. To get your focus off yourself, get your focus onto the thing that you want to create that doesn't exist yet, to imagine a path to get there, to strategically decide on who's going to do what, when, da-da-da-da-da, and then fucking chip away doing the human thing until that thing exists. Right? If it can exist at all, and there's no guarantees in when we're creating, And this is the big gap, all right? So again, like, all credit where credit is due to all the heart-centered people, the people that have their hearts and minds and souls and spirits all in the right place. And by right place, I'm talking about the stuff that I'm talking about right here. It's not a general, no one has to get on board with all of this. But for the people who care about all of that stuff, those are their values and they're legit, they're cool values. And so it's like, yeah, they're in the game, right? But they're missing the skill set of creating often because they're focused on, how did you learn about half of this stuff anyway? It's because you've been thinking about yourself the whole time and why you don't fit into the rest of society and why everything's so fucked up. And it's like, it's a sort of intellectual effort, not a creative effort. So the things that got you there aren't necessarily the things that are going to take you to the actual creation and building of the next step. So one of the things that is really interesting to me is the idea of the Hollywood model. Now, professional creators in something like Hollywood, it's this mad collaboration of freelancers, right? And so I don't know how many people it takes to work on a film, but it's a lot, right? And from what I understand, a lot of these people are freelancers and they come together for a collaboration with a shared vision, and there's a director. It's not just random, there's some hierarchy, but it's orchestrated, and they bring about a film, and then everyone disappears back into whatever they're doing, and they do it again with other people. And the professional nature of these creators, of these artists, are that they show up and they do the job as it's expected, as it's required, at the level that it's required for them to do it at, in order to produce the outcome that they all want, right? And that's what makes all of this incredible cinema that we all enjoy, Now, that's at the highest levels, right? And, and I think a lot of us that are kind of wanting to, that are envisioning these new things, we see a lot of that level, and it's like, it's just a different world. And it's easy to look at it and kind of throw shade in a way, like, oh yeah, but, obviously Hollywood is Hollywood. And, the people who are involved in that sort of thing are involved for the wrong reasons, or, who knows? There's all sorts of fucking shade that gets thrown on it. But, at the end of the day, hats off, again, credit where it's due, that these people are professionals and they show up impeccably to create and produce the outcomes that they set their mind to. And there's no grand coordination of like some central bureaucracy or whatever. There's direction. There's a vision. There's like a work ethic. But what there also is fucking fluency in the creative process of being a part of that thing, of what it's like to get together, show up, do your thing, pull it off, cut, take two, get it in a bag, let's go, And it all comes together, and it comes together. I mean, this is the crazy thing. Like, the more I've learned about film, and I don't know much, but, just things like there's often, well, it depends what films, but, often there's only one camera doing the thing, and then it's just lots of different shots. And then the scene is built after that out of all of these different shots that have been taken. So the scene is built out of these various little elements. Now, this is another beautiful insight about what the creative process can offer us, is it's about the elements. It's not this metaphorical, abstract, conceptual awakening or new birth. This is all sort of very vague and hard to place. It's not that. It's a scene that portrays this, and it's created out of this, that, and the other. All of these different elements shot at these different angles to produce this result. And what you get in the end is a thing. It's a creation. It's a final thing. That scene exists in and of itself. And that scene is, of course, one element in the film, right? But we're talking about creations, a scene, a film. There's a kind of fractal nature of it. We're not talking about a vague revolution, So what I want the takeaway from this to be is that when you're thinking about whatever it is you want to do, and this is hard. Like, I'm pretty neurodivergent background, non-linear, really hard to think strategically, all of that stuff, but I've had to learn it. And I've learned it because I want to create stuff. I want my life to be in service of the things that I want to see brought into being, in my own life as an individual and in my efforts with collective cooperative groups, right? And because of that, what have I noticed? Hey, most shit doesn't fucking work, isn't helpful, doesn't actually create the results that you want. Most of it is fucking useless. And that goes for psychology, that goes for, a bunch of educational ideas, definitely goes for politics, spirituality, the new agey stuff, like just endless amount of things. Healing, like all of these things, a lot of these things ride on the back of the notion that actually, they're going to create the thing that you want to see. And it's nonsense. They don't do creating. Those forces are not creative forces. They're different forces. The creative force is the principal one, and the rest of them can come along and tuck under the wing or get into the slipstream, and they're all welcome. They're all welcome to the party. But it's the creative fucking human desire to bring things into being and capacity to do so that's got to fly this flock of mad geese into the sunset. So, yeah, at this stage, I think I've said it all. At least until next time. I think if I try to do a summary, then I'll just repeat stuff that I've already said. So, there we go. Don't wait till Sunday if you want a roast tomorrow, which ironically is Sunday. So, sometimes there is magical alignment in life. Peace, people.